And while Robin is letting people in, I'll just start the introduction. So what we're going to cover today, first of all, I want to say a really big thank you to everyone for choosing to spend your afternoon or your morning, depending where you're joining us from, with us. Robin and I will try to give you back as much value as we can over the next hour. So we'll do a short introduction and kind of cover the main concepts or topics that are going to be coming up throughout the webinar today, both in relation to corporate donors and individual donors. And then I'm going to be talking about the corporate side of donors, and Robin will talk about the individual donors, and we'll leave some time at the end for Q&A. So if you have questions at any time, just write them in the chat and we'll take them at the end. But of course, if something is not clear or something, just let us know, and we'll keep an eye on the chat so we can always pause and make sure that everyone's keeping up. So I'm Aina. I'm a co-founder of Matchstick. Matchstick is a lead generation agency. So in simple terms, what that means is that we help businesses and organizations to uncover and win new opportunities. So whether that's new clients, new business, new partners. We are a certified B Corporation, and we specialize in serving impact-driven organizations, including nonprofits. We help nonprofits with corporate donor outreach. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Please feel free to scan the QR code. It links to my LinkedIn. So if we're not connected, I'm always happy to connect. And if you ever have any questions related to marketing or sales side of things, that's my expertise. And especially when it comes to reaching businesses and corporates, I'm always happy to help.
Thanks, Aina. So very similar on my slide. The QR code is here as well, so you can scan that with the camera on your mobile phone, and that will bring up all my details. So I'm Robin. I'm the co-founder of Pravi. Pravi is a new platform that helps charities of any size access data insights to grow online and find new donors. And Pravi really stemmed from my own experience in the charity sector. I started off as a volunteer fundraiser for a small charity, and it was really hard. And it was really hard because we didn't have any data, any tools, or any information about who we should be approaching, what kind of fundraising events we should run, and whether what we were doing was working. I then went to move to work at one of Australia's largest charities, a youth cancer charity, and I saw the difference it could make if you have access to data and technology that works for you. And that really inspired me to build Pravi, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more at the end of my section. Awesome. So we're going to just, before we start the individual donor and the corporate donor section, Aya and I wanted to look at these two kind of concepts that are going to come up a lot throughout both of our sections. And they're really themes that are going to emerge across the entirety of this webinar. So the first one is the idea of a donor profile or a donor persona, and that is to know who you're talking to. And this applies to corporate donors and individual donors exactly the same. You may have heard the phrase that when we talk to everyone, we connect with no one. And so the more we can know, we can understand our audience, our supporters, the people that we're approaching for donations, the more we will connect with them and make and build that relationship. And so we're going to have a lot of tips today on how you can know who you're talking to. I'll hand over to Aina to talk about what's in it for me.
Yeah, so the donor motivations is basically the next step after you've identified your donor profile. And that's understanding why actually, whether that's individuals or businesses should give to your organization, what motivates them. And often people think that, because my mission is important, because it's the right thing to do, that's going to be enough. But unfortunately, that's not always enough. And we really have to put ourselves in the shoes of the person that we're speaking to and think what's in it for them, so that we are not talking about ourselves and think that we care about, but about what they're going to get out of it and kind of why they should choose you. Because there is thousands of charities with important causes. So why is your charity the right one for them? So yeah, we're going to talk about this in the context of both individual and corporate donors, and hopefully give you some actionable tips. Robin, I just want to double check that we're recording, right? Because I didn't hear
recording. Thank you.
You are okay.
I will send the recording out to everyone later this afternoon, and I'll also share the slides as well.
Great, thank you. So we can go ahead and get started with the corporate donor section. So first, to lay the to set the tone, to lay the foundation, I want to share some data from the latest corporate giving report by Charities Aid Foundation. They surveyed UK businesses, and they found out that 75% of UK businesses don't give anything to charities. And I want to ask people for here today, if you were to take a guess, can you please share in the chat, like, why do you think that is? So these businesses were asked, and what are the reasons that they gave? Like, why are they not giving to charities? So there's no right or wrong answers. I'm just really curious what people here think the reasons are. And then I'm gonna share what businesses actually said, and we can compare them. So we can give people, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds if anyone is feeling brave enough to write in the chat what you think the reasons are.
Yeah, I've got a few here coming through, Ina. So there's loads of great comments here. So from Joe, it's a saturated space. Katie, don't know where to start. Nick, they don't have any free cash. They're struggling like everyone else. Alex, lack of budget. Pinky, they see it as a business rather than a charity. From Nick, they don't know who to talk to or don't know how to connect with them. From Robin, no alignment. From Robert, too many to choose from. So yeah, lots of great comments here in the chat.
Wow. So let's see what businesses said versus what you said.
Oh yeah, sorry, one more from Jerry, which is quite funny.
Okay.
Sorry. That they want to keep all their profits, but they might not be honest about that. I don't want to miss that. Sorry. Thanks, Jerry.
No, that's a good one. Yeah, thank you everyone for sharing. So one of the reasons is they haven't considered it. It's not a priority for their business at the moment. No charities have asked them, and they don't have time to find a suitable charity. And there were lots of other ones, but these are some of them. And it's estimated that about 4.2 billion pounds was given to charities by corporates last year. It's a slight drop year on year, but we can look at these numbers as the glass is half empty or the glass is half full, right? So 75% of businesses aren't giving anything, but at the same time, it means that there is capacity and there's a huge opportunity of those 75% of businesses, many of whom just haven't considered it yet, or they can't find a suitable charity. I mean, that's a ridiculous excuse if you ask me, but some businesses actually had the audacity to say that in the survey, or that no charities ask them. So it again shows that we really have to be proactive to make sure that they know about our work and they know it. Like that's the beginning, right? Just to start the conversation, to know that we exist. So now we can talk about how do we actually catch their interest and what's the motivation for them? Like, why should they give to your cause? And the common misconception is that, the cause is important, it's the right thing to do, like everyone should be doing it. But when it comes to business, especially more so than to individuals, social impact will always be secondary to business benefits. So even though the individual people within the business, they might care about the cause, at the end of the day, it's going to be a business decision. So it's always, they're going to make their decision based on what's in it for them. So you have to think about how does supporting your organization align with their specific business goals. And it all starts from identifying your ideal donor profile, how Robin was saying in the beginning. So we have to know both the perfect fit company. So we have to consider things like, is it better to approach really large corporates or maybe really small and local ones? Like, are you a really local charity, like specific to your area? So does it make sense only to contact businesses in your area, or can you go national or international? What are the best industries? Like where is the connection between what you do and the industry that you're approaching? And then of course the individual attributes. So we never want to just email those generic emails like info@pravi.com or demashtik.com. We want to find an actual person within the organization who is going to be our way in. And this can be HR, like managers, maybe marketing or brand, or if the business is large enough or they care about sustainability, they might have a CSR or a sustainability manager. And we also have to think about, okay, are they the decision maker or who is actually the budget holder? Like, how can we build trust with the right people to really get us into the company? And of course, also consider things like which communication channels do they use? So where are we going to find them? Are they on Facebook or on LinkedIn? Do they go to in-person events? Things like that. And to get you started, if you kind of are not sure, okay, so where is that connection between us and which industry do I go to? Which how to identify that ideal donor profile for me, you could try this AI prompt. So you can use ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, any of those tools. Like there's lots of great free tools out there, and say something like, I run a nonprofit, give it the name of your nonprofit, what's your mission, that you want to secure corporate donors. However, you know that most businesses prioritize their bottom line over philanthropy. So you need a strategic approach that aligns with their business goals and not just their corporate social responsibility efforts. I'm not going to read the whole thing, and we're going to share the recording, so you don't have to worry about taking notes. But this is a really good starting place. So obviously, don't just go and believe what ChatGPT tells you and just do that. But this is just to get you thinking, right? To generate some ideas. And to give you some specific examples, if, for example, your charity does something for the environment, like some nature conservation, you might want to approach maybe companies that do some outdoor clothing or some travel companies, because for them it makes sense to, like, literally there, for example, if the company is doing tours in Africa, like safari tours in Africa, it makes sense for them to preserve that nature because their business depends on it. And it's going to look good for them to say that we're supporting a charity that's doing something around the conservation in the Masai Mara or in the Serengeti. So you really have to think like how to find that connection. And now to give you a real life example, we recently completed a project with a small charity from Leeds called Leeds Autism Services. So they offer direct support to autistic adults in the Leeds area, and they also promote the just general acceptance and understanding of neurodivergent people. And they approached us because they lacked fundraising staff and they really needed to diversify their income, and they wanted to try to approach corporates. So what we did is we approached 70 local businesses because it's a charity that works really in their community. It made sense to target businesses that are, in that small area of specifically Leeds. And we approached senior HR directors, marketing managers, and CSR roles. And we invited them to Autisticon. Autisticon is an annual conference that the charity organizes. So it's all about building awareness around neurodiversity, helping businesses become more like disability confident. And why inviting people to an event works really well is because it gives you kind of like an excuse to reach out to them. Because I'm not going to lie to you, cold outreach is really hard. So when you're just reaching out to someone and you're trying to start that conversation, it can be really difficult. And when you have an event, you have like a legitimate reason that you're inviting them to their local community event. So it immediately kind of answers that question, like, why are you reaching out to me and why are you reaching out to me now? So if you can host an event, open day, impact report launch, birthday, I mean, anything, if there's like Children's Day, Earth Day, like whatever is relevant to your mission, just, organize an event and invite local businesses. And our outreach was through email, through direct mail, which is one of the most powerful channels for charities. So they talk also about this in the report, which I mentioned earlier. So if you have a little bit of that budget, like it's a really great idea. And I know some people who send handwritten like thank you notes to their donors, or if you're doing that first contact, it's also a good idea to, print out some beautiful cards. It's like great for brand awareness, brand recognition, and send it as an invitation to your event, for example. And also LinkedIn. So it's always good to go from different directions because people have different communication styles and preferences. So we don't want to just rely on like email, for example. So now we want to talk about going back to that, what's in it for me. So what we used when we were inviting people to come and kind of start conversations and start supporting LAS is the term called the purple pound. Does anyone here know what the purple pound is? If you know, if you want to share in the chat, that'd be great. I'll be honest, I didn't know before we worked with Leeds Autism Services. Or maybe if anyone wants to try to guess what it means.
Yeah, so we've got an answer here from Joe, which is finances from like disabled people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So the purple pound is the term that refers to the spending power of people with disabilities and their households. And it's estimated that just in the UK, their spending power is about 274 billion pounds. So that's how much people with disabilities spend per year. So if you are not accommodating people with disabilities, so there is some crazy stat, something like 75% of people who have disabilities have abandoned a shopping cart online or left a store, like didn't complete their purchase because of some issues around accessibility. So it's very clear that if your website is not fully accessible, if your service, your product is not fully accommodating for this demographic, then you're losing money. So of course we use the argument that it's good for businesses to hire people like from diverse backgrounds, to have that representation. It's the right thing to do. It's good for your community, but also, and that's when people really start to listen. Like you're missing out on cash if you're not accommodating this demographic. So this is a very specific kind of thing that fits perfectly for these autism services, but you can find something similar for your organization as well. So it goes back to that, what's in it for them? What's going to be the direct benefit to them of supporting your organization? So some of the results that happened from our outreach, we contacted 70 businesses, like I mentioned, and we started 14 conversations with 7 positive replies, including some really large organizations like Deloitte. Now, if you've never done outreach, maybe these numbers, like you don't have a frame of reference, it's like this is incredible results from 70 businesses to get 7 positive replies. And I'm not going to lie, like it is difficult. There's going to be a lot of no's or just complete silence, like people not responding to you. But if you have the right message, if you have that relevance and you are contacting them kind of at the right time with the right offer, then it becomes immediately your chances to get much, much higher. Some of the immediate outcomes from this was that Leeds Autism Services got invited to participate in research on neurodiversity. So there was a tech company that literally told us, like, this couldn't be a better time. Thank you so much for contacting us. We're actually doing this research. Can we get you involved? So they wouldn't have come to Leeds Autism Services themselves, but because we came to them, it was a perfect fit. They also received some inquiries for their business consultancy. So they do something called disability confidence training. I think that's how they call it. So to train businesses how to become more disability confident. Again, it's a great offer. They charge like £1,000 for it. So for a business that's large enough, it's not such a big investment, but they can put the check mark to say that, oh, we've done this training. It looks great on socials. And it's a great way in for Leeds Autism Services, to start building that connection. And they also got discussions for Charity of the Year nomination, event support for AutisticOn next year, etc., etc. So in 3 months, just by doing outreach to people who maybe didn't even know that this charity existed, we got these amazing results. So I hope that this shows you that it is possible and it starts from you being proactive. Now, I also want to share some of the learnings that we see, kind of the common mistakes that charities do when it comes to corporate donor engagement and how to avoid them. So one of the biggest mistakes is not collecting emails. And this seems obvious, but still I see people making this mistake and not, for example, if you have an event, you need to have an event registration so that you collect everyone's email so that you can email them later, so that you can keep them in the loop, stay in touch with them in the future. It's a great idea to have a newsletter. So to always keep nurturing, because it really takes, I don't know what's the latest stat, but something like 8 to 11 touch points for people to really notice you and to build that mental connection. So please always, when you get a chance, capture people's emails and then actually use them. So email these people. Then probably the biggest actually mistake and the most frustrating for me is the slow and inconsistent follow-up. And I see this a lot with charities because I feel like the communication is a little bit different from business to business interactions, that sometimes people take days to reply to an inquiry, and it's not acceptable. When in business, in B2B marketing, there is a stat that if you respond to an inquiry, if somebody is interested in your service, your business, if you respond to that within 1 minute, so maybe if they called you or if it's a live chat, your chances of closing that sale are 390% higher. If you leave it to an hour, it drops 24 hours, it drops more than 2 days, basically forget it. Because the more time passes, the more just, excuses, like reasons that people can change their mind, something else will come up, they'll start some new project, they will, I don't know, move jobs, something else will happen, and another charity will approach them. So I really can't stress it enough. Like somehow with charity specifically, like people take their time to respond to emails. So please don't make that mistake, because I see it also on the other end when I message like multiple people about something, and the first person who is going to reply to me, I'm going to go with them. And there is no excuse to reply 2 weeks later and expect that the opportunity will still be there. So whenever there is an opportunity, you have to jump on it, really. That can be like the difference between success and missing out. Then also something that we call discovery in marketing and sales. So really asking them about their company. So not just going in and saying, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is how you can support us. But instead ask them, like, what are their goals? What are the initiatives they're running right now? Have they ever supported a charity? So to really understand like what works for them, and then try to plug in, like see, okay, which direction can we go from? And finally, having some kind of offer ready. So again, I see that when we introduce charities to a potential partner, they're not quite sure. Like once they're on the call, they just kind of expect that the people will just, initiate the conversation and say, okay, how can we support you? Can we do this? Can we do that? It has to come from you. So you really have to do that discovery. So understand more about their business and then have some kind of offer. Like in the case of Leeds Autism Services, they had the neurodiversity training. So something that you can like give them some kind of value, whether that's like volunteering, something, initiative for their staff, just like to find, again, a way in. And now I'm going to be wrapping up my section. I just want to share a few more interesting findings from the report. By the way, the report is available online, so you can literally Google it, and it has really, really great insights. And the link is also linked in this presentation. So it's estimated that 70% of employees now say that it is important for their employer to address social challenges, and the number is growing. So it's becoming more and more obvious to businesses that their staff cares about this, and hopefully they'll start seeing it sooner or later. And it's estimated that if so the stock exchange, the top 100 companies, every FTSE 100 company, and just a quarter of all other UK businesses gave just 1% of their profits, the corporate giving could reach over 9 billion. So that's more than double than what it is now. And again, if you go to the report, you will see that some companies gave way more than 1%. So it is absolutely possible to get there. And again, going back to the first slide, like a lot of the businesses haven't considered it or couldn't find the right charity. So it comes down to us being proactive. So what can charities do? Be proactive, share your stories and reports on social media, host events, do outreach, have a newsletter. Like you really have to take that initiative. Explore all the different ways that the corporate partners can get involved. So it can be corporate matching, payroll giving, volunteering, in-kind donations, all sorts of things. Put the right systems in place to make it as easy for them as possible. So this starts from something as basic as having the donate button on your website so that it's very easy. So if somebody is on your website, they can click and give you money. But also like understanding what are the tax efficient, like what are the best options for businesses to support you, so that you can educate them on this. And yeah, understanding like what are their budget cycles, when do they have these initiatives for their staff, like things like that. So really you have to make it as easy as possible to fit into their system. And finally, also learn which reporting frameworks they use so that you can align your impact reporting to the data points that they care about. So again, going back to what's in it for me, like looking at it through their eyes. And before I pass it over to Robin, I just want to share this wonderful guide that we created. If you scan the QR code, you can download it. It's a very detailed, extensive PDF, which outlines our process that we use, and it's 100% repeatable. So how you can identify your ideal donor profile, some tips around organizing an event, doing the outreach, email templates. It has that AI prompt, which I mentioned, some recommendation on tools that you can use. So please feel free to download it. You can find it on our website. So hopefully I made it kind of clear. Like, it is pretty straightforward, but I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy. It is pretty hard. So if you ever need help, that's what Matchstick does. We can help you with everything from strategy and research to actually doing all of the outreach, like managing executing the campaign, up to the point where we get the meetings. So we get the people in the room with you if you have an in-person event, or book those online Zooms, Google Meets, like introductory meetings, and then we pass it over to you. So if you ever need help, you know where to find me. And now I'm gonna stop sharing and pass it over to Robin.
Thanks, Aina. Just while I'm sharing my screen, there is a question from Robin in the chat, which is when you're contacting businesses, who in the organization are you aiming the email or the letter at?
Yeah, so it depends on the size of the organization, but usually we go either for somebody from HR, so human resources, or marketing, because usually those are the two functions who care about, the brand, the reputation, and also their employees, like whether that's payroll, giving, or volunteering or stuff like that. And it's always good to go for somebody senior, so somebody who has been in the company for some time. And obviously, if you can find, so if you can use a tool like Apollo, which is free and it's pretty good, but it can be a bit outdated. But you can also do like search on LinkedIn, so you can filter by job titles. So like CSR, sustainability managers, they can also be a good shout. And then also like whose email you can find, right? Because you have to find the email, you have to verify it, so like to make sure. So you start from there, and then you see kind of what's the best that you can get. Awesome. Yeah, CSR is corporate social responsibility, and then there's social impact. Like bigger businesses, they have some interesting titles like community engagement, or something like that. Details of Apollo. Sure. So it's in our guide, but let me just quickly have a look. Yeah, if you download the guide, it has the link. I think it's Apollo.io. Yeah, it's apollo.io. So it's free, so it's a great tool, but because it's free, I think it is sometimes a little bit outdated, but it's a good place to start.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Keep putting your questions in the chat. And as I say, I'll make sure we have time at the end as well to answer any more questions. So I'm now going to sort of shift the focus a bit onto individual donors. But what you'll actually see is there's a lot of similar themes here that come up because what we're talking about both with corporate donors and for individuals is really building relationships with people. And that kind of goes both ways, the people in your charity, the people in the organizations, and with the individuals as well. The way I've structured my slides today is I'm going to share sort of 5 tips, and these are taken directly from conversations that I've had with small charities while I'm building Pravi. So part of my job at Pravi is to talk to as many charities as I can and really understand the pain points and also what's working. And so I've got some specific examples in my slides of things people are doing to really build those relationships, which I hope will really inspire you, and which obviously people have given me permission to share. But the biggest barriers and essentially things that you can relate to when it comes to building strong donor relationships is not having enough information about who our supporters are and what they care about. So not knowing our donor profile, not knowing who we're talking to. The limited time and capacity to consistently stay in touch is obviously always a challenge in the sector. And that small audiences feel hard to nurture and to grow over time. The reason I'm so passionate about individual donors, so passionate about it that I'm building a platform to try and make it easier, is that not only do individual donors give us unrestricted, regular, sustainable income, they also give us so much more than that. So they give us support, they build a community around our organization, they give us volunteers, they support us on social media, they tell other people about our organizations. So the value that comes from relationships that you can build in your organization is more than just an income stream. It really can become like the backbone of your organization. So there we go. So the first kind of tip I have here, and you can see here I've got Curtis from the Movement Center, his LinkedIn post up on screen. The first thing is that people connect with people. So rather than connecting with the organization or a mission statement or a logo, what really moves people is when they see people who are involved in the organization. And this could be your staff, your volunteers. And I think trustees is a really important one. I think sometimes smaller charities do struggle to get trustees. Obviously, often our trustees are really busy and they have lots of different responsibilities, but often our trustees have really strong networks. They're often kind of pillars of our community. So giving them ways to be able to share about our organization, making it easy for people to share about our organization is really key. Some people might be really comfortable putting up a LinkedIn post or putting up something on Instagram or Facebook, but a lot of people don't feel as comfortable sharing like that. And so I'd really recommend trying to make it easy for people to share why your cause matters to them. There's giving them templates, examples, showing them posts from other people that have really worked. And I often also, when I'm talking to charities, hear people say, oh, we just put some business content up on LinkedIn, or when we have a report, we post that on LinkedIn. That's all we do on LinkedIn. And I always kind of feel like that's code for we put boring stuff on LinkedIn, which is really not how LinkedIn works anymore. It's really the same as all the other social media platforms in that it's a social platform where people connect, share, and grow their own personal networks. And employee-generated content, like this post that you can see from Curtis here. Curtis is amazing. Him and the fundraising assistant, Nikki, at the Movement Center, they share on LinkedIn so consistently about the work they do. And this type of content really gets a lot of higher engagement and reach than something that comes from your company page. And also, as I'm speaking about all these small charities, by the way, I obviously really encourage you to look them up and connect with them as well so you can see the work that they're doing. So the next kind of tip, and this kind of builds on what Ayana was saying, is that building relationships take time. This is just a fact of the matter that people usually won't give immediately. Often it takes many months or many years to build up relationships with individuals so that they give. And again, as I think mentioned, it typically takes at least 8, it could be even more than this now, touch points before most people act. So this could be touch points like seeing a post on social media, receiving an email newsletter, seeing you out at a community event, someone telling them about your organization. There are lots of different ways that those touch points can happen. But for most people, we need to hear about something multiple times before we take any action. And that's because everything is crowded and busy, and we have to try and cut through all the noise. And that takes time, and that also takes kind of repetition. So in my opinion, we can never sort of post too much about our organizations. Sometimes people think, oh gosh, I'm posting too much on LinkedIn or sharing too much. Most people, or no one, I would say, sees all your posts. No one sees all your content. No one reads every single email. And so they really need to be consistent and regular with all these different touch points. I would also say here to notice the people who are already engaging. So anyone who is already doing even the smallest thing, like commenting on a social media post or replying to an email or consistently coming to your events, those people, you've already cut through the noise for those people. So you're already a step further into bringing them into your organization. So even if someone's doing something small, making a small comment, or reacting to something, that's a sign that you've caught their attention. So make sure you notice those people and kind of bring them in closer, reply to them, engage with them. If someone comments on a social media post, make sure you reply to them quickly, because the more that you can build up that two-way relationship, the stronger their connection will be. I just got an example on screen here from Spencer, who is the fundraising manager at Parkdale Food Centre. I really like the simplicity of this advice, or this sort of tidbit that he told me, which is they're a food centre or a food bank. So people often in the community are asking, how can we help? How can we help? And really what people want to do when it comes to a food bank, he was telling me, is they want to volunteer, but they don't actually need any more volunteers. So across the whole organization, when someone asks how they can help, they keep it really simple, and they just give them these 3 ways that you can help. You can donate, you can advocate with your local politician, or you can follow our newsletter. And this is a consistent message that everyone in the organization says when anyone asks how they can help. Now, of course, for you, advocating with your local politician may not be relevant. because they deal with food insecurity, this is a very relevant point for them. So you could adapt this to your needs. But what I love is that you're giving people different options here. Maybe someone's not ready to donate yet, but by asking how they can help, they're saying that they want to connect with you. They're saying that they want to build that relationship. And so something as simple as saying, subscribe to our newsletter can really make a big difference over time. So you can see here that Spencer says they have 4,000 subscribers to their newsletter. They did an email blast about a match giving campaign, and they got 4 to 10 monthly donors back for every email blast that they did. Now, this doesn't happen overnight, and this doesn't happen with the first email that you send, but because they're building this list over time and they're regularly touching base with people, the people who are receiving that newsletter are really engaged and they want to help the organization. They've already sort of put their hand up and said, how can we help? And they've directed them to their newsletter. So I touched on this in the earlier part of the webinar, but knowing who you're talking to, speaking to someone directly makes a huge difference. So on screen here, you can see Greg, who is the CEO and founder of Team Evie. It's a small charity in West Cumbria. Greg does an amazing job. He's an absolute machine when it comes to creating videos. He's always doing sort of talking to camera videos where he talks about his work, his mission, and things that are going on behind the scenes at Team Evie. And this really creates a connection with the audience. And particularly for Greg, because when I spoke to him about his audience, particularly on Facebook, they have, I think, 18,000 followers on Facebook. So they have a large audience. And when we looked at the analytics, most of them come from his local area in West Cumbria, like a staggering number, that they're really a local community. And so if you have a local community or a very specific kind of audience that you're talking to, make sure you use the language and places and references that feel familiar to those people, that resonate with them because they're part of something with you. If you think about how, if you meet someone, like meet a stranger for the first time, and you find out something you have in common really early on, like if I find out that someone is also from Devon, or if you find that someone, I don't know, ran the same marathon with you at the weekend, you have that instant spark of connection and engagement. You feel like, I understand this person, we're speaking the same language. This is exactly the same with social media content, with emails, when you're putting your organization out into the world. You want the people who see you to think, wow, this is for me. This really means something to me. This is talking directly to me. And this is why understanding who your audience are, the people that are seeing your social media posts, the people that are opening your emails, is so important, because the more you can understand them, the more you can build relationships with them and connect with them. So no reference to a charity for this time, this one. This is reference of my own personal experience. This is a particular bugbear of mine, and I'm sure some people here will also relate to this. The fact is that people outside of our sector don't understand how charities work. And what you can see on screen here is just some of the comments I've had when I've spoken about Pravi, when I've spoken the fact that I'm building a platform to help charities find new donors. So I often get like confusion about the term donor. I think people often think I'm talking about like an organ donor, something like that. So people don't understand that. I'm sure some of you have had this comment where people want, I'm going to give £1 to an organization and I want the whole pound to go to like this specific dog that I saw in a Facebook post. And also just this not understanding how deep and broad the sector is. So someone asked me if there's about, like someone guessed that there are about 1,000 charities in the UK. There are 200,000 registered charities in the UK. Of course, all of them are not active and out there fundraising, but there's way more than 1,000. And so every time we speak to our supporters, every time we position our charity, we need to take it back to the step of people don't have that inside knowledge about how charities work, about how funding charities work, about the things that you need to make your organization stable and sustainable. And that's why it's really important to be able to pinpoint the impact that we have. Because actually, sure, I could take this £1 and I could give it to this dog, and that might help him today with a meal. But actually, if I give my pound to this organization over time and lots of other people give their pound to that organization, the actual overall impact that organization can have is much bigger, and they can help way more dogs than just that one for one day. Like people don't see it like that unless we educate them in how the sector works, how our impact works, and how charities are actually funded. And I really recommend having like really direct conversations about these things when people ask, when people show they're interested, not to rely on the fact that people will read social media posts and read emails and just understand this. For most people, it's not their everyday. They haven't worked in the sector before. And the clearer you can be about these things, the more you can build trust with those people who want to donate to your organization. And finally, I didn't know Ina was going to talk about handwritten cards, but here I am also talking about handwritten cards. So I think, you know, the analog methods of reaching out to people are really making a comeback and really sort of standing out. The example I've got on screen here is a small charity called Cameras for Girls that provide training to girls in Africa to become media journalists. So Amina is the founder, and she was telling me that she sends out handwritten cards with a photo that one of the girls on their program took and tells people why their donation matters. And you can see here that she's got sort of feedback back that people have never got this personal touch before. And her donor retention rate is 95%. And she puts this down to these personal touch points. Now, Amina told me that she sits in front of Netflix and writes all these cards by hand herself. Of course, within your organization, you could do this as a team, you could ask volunteers to help as well. But I think it's that finding those ways to really create touch points with individuals rather than, you know, in an email, these days we kind of know that an email goes to everyone. So when we receive an email newsletter, or when we receive an update, we kind of know that that's gone to 100 people and they've all received the same email. But a handwritten card, something that is only we have received, has even more meaning kind of in today's world. The other thing I really recommend, and I've done this in the past, and I do this myself now for my my business, Pravi, is to make notes after every interaction, every phone call, every event, every Zoom meeting. And I don't mean this doesn't need to take like more than a couple of minutes, but I make notes about the person who I've just spoken to, anything they told me that was really relevant, any sort of pain points or interesting things that they said. Because that means that next time when I reach out to that person or when I meet them again, I will have this note to remember what we spoke about before, and I can kind of pick up where we left off. And this obviously is a great way to use your donor management system or CRM if you have one. I know it can feel like a really arduous, annoying habit to get into, but I really strongly believe we can build that habit of just taking a couple of minutes after every interaction that we have over time. It's going to deepen those relationships and give so much value back. It also helps on a practical level if someone leaves your organization, that the notes on a relationship that they've built don't go with them, and that someone else can pick up where they left off in their conversations. So key takeaways to sum up with my section. Number one is to always show the humans behind your work. Don't just be a logo. To speak in a way that feels familiar to the supporters you want to reach. So not to speak in sort of scientific or jargon or sort of charity sector language, to speak in a way that people speak to each other every day. Small, consistent actions beat big one-offs. So small, regular touch points beat having a massive email blast at Christmas time. And finally, don't forget to actually ask for donations. I know for some of you this may seem really obvious, but actually we need to actually ask people to support us directly. And this might be over the phone, this might be in person. So when you've built those relationships, don't forget to actually ask if they want to contribute something like a monthly gift. So just to touch on my platform, Pravi, for those of you who haven't heard Pravi before, as I said, I'm so passionate about helping charities reach more individual donors. I believe it's something that's becoming more important and not less important. So Pravi is a platform I've built that gives charities of any size access to real giving data. So we have anonymous data about the types of people who give to different causes. And you can use that to build donor profiles and get data reports if you don't have any data of your own. We also have social media content creation features that understand your mission and your audience and help you create more of the content that works. And you can plan and schedule and analyze everything within Pravi so you can grow online and reach more people. If you'd like to see what Pravi looks like, our website is on here at pravi.ai. You can book a demo with me and I'll take you through it. or you can just reach out to me on email or LinkedIn anytime. So there's the end of my slides. I'll put either of my QR codes back up on screen for a second, but then I'll stop sharing and see if there's any questions. And feel free to come off mute if you want to actually ask us a question rather than putting it in the chat.
Robin, I just wanted to say, so Robin was asking in the chat if it's possible to share the slides afterwards, so not just the recording, I think, but the actual slides.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fine. I'll do that. I'll send that out this afternoon.
That's great. Thank you.
Great.
No worries. I was actually wondering, Ina, do you have any tips for when you first send the email that you first send out to someone, to a corporate, like what to include in that first email?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, when we do cold outreach, like those type of emails are very different from our newsletters and marketing emails. So the email has to be really short because people aren't expecting to hear from you. So like when they receive a big block of text, it's, they lose interest before they even start reading. Also, it's actually very difficult to land in an inbox of a brand new like stranger if you have like attachments and things like that. So the first email, it's always a good idea to keep it short and simple. I would say the first line should be personalized if possible, because really we receive so many emails, and I mean, really, like, I want to bleach my eyes when I read the cold emails that people send to me, because they're so generic. Like, I can see that thousands of people received exactly the same email, and immediately it's like I'm treated like a number. There is no, I'm not interested. So I would think, look at it like, what makes you open an email? Yeah, so it's a good subject line. So for subject line, don't put anything long and overly formal. Like, it's better to keep it very short, like, so that it almost looks like an internal email or somebody, a colleague would send you, so don't like capitalize every word and kind of write like a article name that you would put on LinkedIn. And then, have a personalized first line. So maybe something about like, congratulations on certifying as a B Corp, or congrats on that great campaign that you did, or something that's kind of relevant. So it's good like to have some positive opening. And then, it really helps if you have a good, timely reason to reach out. So if you're inviting them to an event, or maybe if there is something going on locally, like around that time, or something specific to their industry, like there is some new, legislation, like something like that. So it really helps if you can lead with that. And then, just like literally one sentence about who you are. So don't give them a long love letter of, this is who we are. We're established in this year. We support these people. We do this, this, this. Like, it's too long, so very, very short summary. And then have one clear CTA. So CTA is call to action. So what do you actually want from them? Like, it's not maybe a good idea to ask people on a call or like offer a meeting immediately, because they're a complete stranger. Like, there's no that connection. But maybe, you're inviting them on like to an event. So it's like, are they interested to learn more about the event? Or you're sharing some kind of like your new impact report, which might be relevant to them. So have that really clear, like, okay, what's going to happen next? Don't just leave it like, I hope to hear from you soon. If this is of interest, please let me know. Like, that's too soft. So have a very clear CTA. And we have actually in our guide some email templates as well. So that can help.
So I guess the other thing with that, like personalized, like I've seen this as well for me in my emails, the personalized like first line is also like the preview line that shows up like in your inbox. And so if someone says something really generic or like it's clearly like cold in that first, I'm going to sort of see that. But if someone talks to me about something that is like something I've done or something that my business has done, then it's like that kind of catches my eye as well.
Yeah, and I think also going back to what Robin, you said this time and also in the previous webinars, that think that like people actually read emails like at different, like sometimes they read the emails, first thing in the morning or after work or when they're picking up their kids from school. So it's like, don't make it overly formal. You're speaking to humans who are gonna read it like maybe at their lunch break or something like that. And just don't use that too much jargon and overly like, oh dear sir, I hope this finds you well. Like, I hope this finds you well, just cut it out. That's the biggest waste of words in email history. Like, you can do that when you already have a relationship with the person and you really mean like, I hope this finds you well, and that, okay, they're expecting the email, they'll read it. But otherwise, don't waste your words on it. If you don't have an event or somewhere to invite them, what would you approach with? If you don't have an event, then maybe some kind of offer. So in case of Leeds Autism Services, for example, talking about the disability training or something like that. So I would say if you don't have anything, absolutely like no value to give them, it's going to be very difficult. So impact report is always a good one to share, but again, it has to be somehow relevant. So it can be relevant if they're a really local business. So in that case, like usually people, I think in the CAF corporate giving report, also there was a number, something like 55% of businesses, they give only to local charities. So it's always like a good connection. Just being local can sometimes be enough. But yeah, so sharing some kind of free value, like whether that's sharing some recent research, an impact report, maybe some success story, like it's, I don't know, it's your birthday, you know, the charity is turning 10 years, like something like that. So having some kind of reason to reach out. So not just, I would say if you just reach out and say, hey, this is who we are, can you support us? It's going to be really hard. Like it's not impossible if you really, you know, find the right person who might have some personal connection to it. But yeah, you should try to give them some kind of value.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Is there any other questions? Let me just have a look in the chat.
Where I was. Time spent mind generated. Yeah, that's a great question. So the Autisticon was in October, so it was exactly a month ago. So I would say that normally when we work with charities, it can take afterwards like easily 6 months or something for the donor to actually become a donor. So sometimes it can happen, like another charity we worked with, they immediately also started working on some research project. Maybe they got some in-kind donations, like for Christmas for the kids. So there was a charity who supports families in need with young children under 5. So it's like starts from those very small commitments. So for LAS, for now, I can't tell you what the ROI was because it's very, very early.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the questions, everyone. I think we've answered everything in the chat. So just to reiterate, obviously, oh, sorry, I missed something, Ina?
No. I'm just scrolling through the chat as well.
Oh, cool.
We got great engagement. So thank you everyone for participating.
Yeah, thank you so much. Also, as Ina said, feel free to reach out to either of us if you think of questions afterwards, or that you had something that you didn't want to share in the chat. But thank you so much for joining us. It was just a really great session. Really appreciate your time. Anything you wanted to add before we close, Ina?
Yeah, so I see that Nick had some follow-up questions. So maybe, Nick, we can connect offline, like on LinkedIn or something, and we can talk about that a bit longer, like what's seen as a good ROI, because it's very individual. And I would like to know more, like what kind of charity run with the organization does. Great. Okay, so Robin, you will share the slides and the recording, right?
I will. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Thanks so much. Bye.